Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to welcome in our second day of the e-governance workshop. I'm still Doris Põld, CEO of Estonian IT Association, and together with UFM and GIZ, we are organizing this virtual workshop for you. Yesterday, we spoke about what are the key enablers in order to build up the most secure digital society. We spoke about digital identity, interoperability platform, and how to build up the supportive legislative environment for the digital society. Today, we're going on now, as promised, with very practical examples, different kind of services, what can be offered in digital world. As promised, then there will be two very interesting panel discussions with different kind of e-services. And we see what can be the real effects of these kind of services as taxation authority, as building up the budget for public budget systems, for example, and so on, e-health system, and so on. We will speak also about the digital skills. Importance of digital skills, because also yesterday it came to the topic that to have, together with building e-governance, it's very important also to have this kind of competent people and have constant competence building and how to do it, what is our experience here. But before we going on with already our exciting program, some very practical things in order to be sure that we are all in the right place and we are in the same page and that you can actively be involved in our program. Then I will show you here in this screen where you should be, how to use the workshop platform. So firstly, it's very easy. Let's go on to the workshop website. You have this in your email, or we can just type it on. So, workshop.com, you are here. Here, just read your country name and click join. Now you should see the screen. If you're pushing here, you will see me. Then all the program is going on here. But more importantly, right now, in order to see the agenda, always it can be like this. If you are in this big room all together, you can see it on the big screen and in your own device. I advise you, then go on with your own device also. And then you can put this kind of screen down there, and then you have agenda here. Firstly, here you can choose the language. That would you like to see the program in English or in French? Here you can choose the language. Just click here the open, and you get the translation. Here you can follow the program. Right now we are in the introduction part. Yes, you can ask also questions from me. So it's very easy. In every session you have here the question answer button. Please use this actively. You make my job also lots of easier here then, because then you can ask questions, I will see them, and I will ask it turning the panel. For example, here, now if I type here something, then it goes under my session. I'm not very good in typing and speaking at the same time. And it's here, I can also upvote it. For example, and all the questions will be seen here. You can see the other questions, and every time here you go back and you are back in the agenda. So very easily, you can go to the question part and here is back. Here, follow the program. Please ask the questions. You have here also the participants part under. Here below, you can see all the participants. Here is conversation part if you want to have a conversation with the participants in the conference. But the questions, please give here, always in the right place in every panel. So hopefully this was useful, and I see your questions actively here in this panel discussion. But let's now go on with our program. And our first discussion point will be, I should say that it's extremely important, because we can build any kind of e-services as we want. But if anyone doesn't use them, don't know how to use these kind of e-services, doesn't have the necessary skills, then we have a problem. So the first panel will be about digital skills and how to build up the right competences among citizens, among youngsters, how to help schools, what kind of practical case studies can be there. And for that, I'm very happy to invite here to our stage 2 speakers, Ms. Triin Kangur and Mr. Tanel Keres, who will speak about the importance of raising digital skills. So firstly, Triin, please.
Good day. My name is Triin Kangur. Thank you, Doris, for the introduction. I work in the small Estonian company. And this small Estonian company is really important one because we are developing and implementing different kind of training activities and training programs among Estonian companies and to citizens regarding digital skills development. And I think this is a very important thing to discuss today with you. So let's talk about digital competences. What are they? Who needs them, and why do we need to educate this? So how do we ensure that that people actually have the skills that are expected from the labor market regarding digital skills? Because we know that because of this COVID pandemic, many companies said to their employees that, dear people, we need you to work. We need you to work digitally, which means that you need to use different kind of skills. At the same time, being able to use internet and online conference programs and use e-services and everything at the same time. And think at the same time. And this is not a very easy thing to do. But digital competencies, I must say that they were, of course, they were important before, but they are more and more important today and in coming years. This is something that will not go away. Everybody has to have these skills. So building digital competencies since early childhood through life is something that we do here in Estonia, here in Europe, and also in all over the world. How do we do this? We start from very, very early age, since kindergartens, definitely educate people in general education or in public schools, then move to vocational schools and higher education, and continue in lifelong learning when we live our normal lives as adults and work. So building the competencies is something that we do every day, everywhere, and with every single person together with whom we live with. And let's take a little bit closer look. What are the skills? What do we need to teach? We can divide these digital skills in 3 big categories. The basic skills. These are relevant for everybody. Then we have higher level digital skills, meaning special skills for IT specialists, and also the skills which are important for non-IT professionals, like teachers or healthcare workers or people working for the government, anywhere. And then the third category is ID management and smart customer skills, which I think are maybe the most interesting ones, at least for small companies all over the world, because there are so many different kind of services digital services that we can provide and that the public uses. But somebody has to be the bright one to actually know of what to order, what kind of services, what should they do with this. So smart customer skills is something relevant for the company owners and managers. How have we done in this in Estonia? We have taken this so-called systematic approach. Cross-sectoral cooperation between all stakeholders, starting from government bodies, associations, NGOs, schools, every kind of public organizations. So everybody will work together. And a little bit more closely now. So understanding the needs of what is needed by the society, what is expected from the nation and public servants and citizens is something that we take as a base and create all our training programs and services on top of this knowledge. Of course, we cannot work only from the government side or not only from the business side. We cooperate. We have evangelists who go and are like public figures, well-known people who discuss with others of the importance of the skills and how we can use them for our work or for our private life. We have public-private partnerships and initiatives together with or between companies and public sector. And of course, we will involve the schools and big umbrella organizations. And this is how, and this is what we have done in Estonia. Here are just a few examples. So regarding the basic skills, the ones which are for everybody, we divide them in 5 categories, like information and data literacy, communication. Then the third is digital content creation. Of course, cybersecurity, and more and more is important, the problem-solving skill. You can see on the your right side, there are some examples written in red color. The Tiger Leap in general education, in vet education or vocational education, and higher education. There is an example called Information Technology Foundation for Education. It's a public institution taking care of teacher education and digital skills and competences development for teachers and pedagogical staff. And there are more initiatives written there, like Tiger Leap Foundation, Look at the World Foundation, and e-Citizens program. Then we had a very nice program targeting cybersecurity that was called Come Along. In the second category, these higher level digital skills, like IT specialist skills and digital skills for non-IT professionals, you can see that we have also several number of initiatives taking place. And some of them are going parallel with the basic skills development and also with the higher digital skills development. So I will spoke of them a bit later, just a minute later. Just as the third category you see, the IT management and smart customer skills. In Estonia, we have created a special foundation taking care of public servants' digital skills development, so that we have smart and well-educated people in the government and also in government different offices to know of what kind of services our people need and how to create them and how to implement them. So here are a few of these examples that you just saw, a little bit more in detail. So Tiger League Foundation is something that Estonia is mainly, I think, is famous for, because we were the first ones, at least in Europe, to implement a national program for schools and for teachers to develop digital skills, to provide schools with internet and computer classes, and we started doing this in implementing everything to national curriculum. This is something that was done in a cooperation between public partners and private funding. The second very big initiative was Look at the World Foundation, targeting citizens. So 1/10 of Estonian population was trained about internet usage, e-banking, and that was something where we actually went to each small village and educated people on site. And what was interesting, that it was 100% privately funded project. This Look at the World Foundation's initiative was followed by the Come Along program, also targeting regular people regarding digital signature and cybersecurity on very basic level, on this level which is needed for every normal person living in our country. That was initiated and funded by the government. When going to the next category, there's digital skills on higher education level and in vocational education. Then we established a separate college called IT College. Now it belongs to Tallinn Technical University, TalTech. And in this IT college, we started an IT Academy program, encouraging young people to get their bachelor degree in IT development and IT handling. And today, this program is still alive, and it has branches also in vocational education, not only in higher education. We have established a very nice foundation, which is also the reason why we are here today. So ITL, the Information Technology Foundation for Education, plus the IT Foundation for IT companies. It was something that was established in almost together. So the IT Foundation for Education targeted schools and mainly higher ed and universities in curriculum development and teacher training and giving stipends to students, while the ITL was the organization putting together different companies in the field of ICT and IT. And these two organizations, these two initiatives work together to assure that everything is what is taught in universities and vocational education centers is in line with the needs, with the market needs. So just few things for you to think about, and maybe to concentrate, or maybe this is like a good suggestions from Estonia. There are, of course, some initiatives where very detailed policy and action plans are needed. So when you are creating training programs, think big. Try to involve as many people as possible. We have taken the DCOMP, the digital European Digital Competence Framework, as a base for our training programs. So all the training programs are in line with the digital competences listed in the European framework. So we can actually, we know where we are, that everything that we teach are in line and can be measured. So when you are creating curriculums, also try to implement similar curriculums in different universities and on different educational levels, so that we know that that people graduating different educational levels have a common ground, that we know that their skills and competencies are pretty much on the same level. Make sure that you give a very different kind of training capabilities or training possibilities to the whole sector. And of course, think about certification, that this is also needs to be in place. Development of a public sector is also an important thing. We have very many different programs in place. We started already on 2000 and 2006 and 2007 with different programs, and we still run them. Of course, there are different ways for funding it, and the funders have been changed, and we have really taken use of the worldwide and also European funding opportunities, such as European Commission-driven programs and World Bank initiatives. So pay a closer look of what is available, what kind of funding opportunities and what is expected. And of course, ask for help. Ask for suggestions of how to implement these great plans that I'm sure you already have something in place. Just to finish, here are some sources that you can use and which will help you in the future. And now I will leave the floor to my colleague, Mr. Tanel Keres, who is representing an Estonian initiative called eSchool, which is a fabulous opportunity for parents to know exactly how their children are learning, an opportunity for children to know where they are and what do they need to learn for tomorrow, for example, and for teachers, it's an online diary. So thank you, and Tanel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Triin, for the kind words. My name is Tanel Keres, and yes, I'm talking about the general education and ICT in general education in general. And as Triin concentrated or focused on the topic of how to create a digital society and what are the benefits, I would rather like to concentrate on the topic of what kind of benefit does it give. So when we are talking about the country or state, let's say, what is the purpose of the country for their citizens? Of course, it's the possibility for citizens' self-realization. And access to education is one of the things, because based on this, or if the citizen is educated, they have much more possibilities to their own self-realization, so they can decide what to do. And actually, if we are talking about the country itself, what is the purpose? One side is the citizens, but the other side is how to increase or improve the level of country's competitiveness. And as we have seen, or at least we have understood here in Estonia, one of the key things is the education. So let me come back for a second. And now the question is how to improve the level of education. And there are a lot of matrices you can use to measure the education. And as we have the saying that you can improve what you can measure. And when we are talking about education, there are several good matrix systems out there. For example, PISA, which is the OECD ranking system for educations. PIAC, which is also more focused on the adult competencies. TALIS, and these are the international ones. It's a good thing to tell here that Estonia is on the very top of the world regarding the PISA results. We are the first in Europe and among first 3 in the world based on the latest PISA results. So if we are talking about the national level, there are quite a lot of other possibilities, but they all rely on the data. What kind of data do you have and what you can actually use? And there are, of course, satisfaction surveys, just to understand where you are and where you want to end up with the level, or let's say, the level of education. When we are talking about Estonia, there are a mixture of different possibilities. For example, different surveys, different databases like Education Info System, or some data warehouses where everyone can actually see some important data on schools or their results, and so on and so on. So, and the Ministry of Education is actually providing their own surveys to schools, and not only schools, but also for teacher level, and this is a very important input for defining or designing the education system. So when we are talking about the educational data, there are very many important aspects where you can use it. For example, every country has to provide education for the citizens, also for kids, students, and how to ensure the duty of attending the school. So if the kids are actually going there, or if the school network is optimal, or if the school budget is efficiently, say, allocated to schools, and if the model is working fine, and if the need of the companies or private sector is actually getting, or if the private sector is getting the people or workforce what they actually need. These are the things where quick, or let's say rapid changes in the policy have to be done in order to meet the goals and to get good and better results. And all of it must rely on reliable and operative data, which is accurate and available. And I would say that it has to be on a school and also on a government level. For a school level, school can do the decisions on their own, but governmental level, it's more like a strategic and political decisions to be made. How to get the data from the school level, or as we say, how to get the data from the most lowest level. This is a very important thing, because we definitely would like, and what we are actually following here in Estonia and what we are suggesting you as well, that the data should be collected only once and only in one place. So you don't have duplicate data. You'd rather share the information with other databases and enter the data only once, as we call it, the once-only principle. And when we are talking about the data on a school level, it has to be entered on the most lowest level, so it means on the level of teacher. And if we are talking here about Estonia, there is a good tool that I'm actually representing as well. It's one of the options is e-kool, or in English it's e-school. It's a school management system where you can get accurate data on attendance or gradings or students' progress, how to support students, and so on and so on. And another thing for these school management systems is that it actually helps to create the digital channel between home and school, which can be used for different other services like learning management systems and so on and so on. Now, before I give a short, actually very short overview about e-kool, I would like to emphasize some points that Triin already covered. One is the Tiger Leap program, and another one is the Look at the World program. Both of them takes us back to 1996 or something like that. And it was the time where there were not many computers in schools, and actually there were not many computers at all. And the initiative of Tiger Leap was the program that brought the computers to schools. And another program, what was the Look at the World, was actually an initiative from the government to educate people or citizens regarding the digital services. So we ended up in a situation where we had the computers. They were actually also connected to internet, but there were no good tools that schools could use in those computers. And that is actually the time when we started with our program e-kool, e-school, which is a school management system. And it was a school's initiative, for schools initiative to keep the data on a digital way. And the idea was that students will get their homeworks from computers. Parents can see the grades when they actually are inserted by the teacher. They don't have to wait for like a class meeting for half a year, but they were actually, they knew all the time what is going on in school. And that was the main idea of our product. So, as we say, grades, attendance, class schedule, homeworks, lesson descriptions, all these kind of things were put into a program. So when we are talking about e-kool, it's an inclusive system, connecting all relevant parties into one system, like teachers, students, parents, school and local authorities. And students get all their information from one system. Parents are always aware of what is going on in the school. They can see the problems if they appear, and they can deal with them right away, so problems won't escalate. And teachers can focus on their main topic, which is teaching. And as I already mentioned as well, this once-only principle, it means that the data is entered only once in the level of teachers. So if teacher adds something into the system, it is available for parents, for students, and also for school management in different reports. And this is why teachers have actually said that it helps to save time, because they don't have to provide any additional reports or information to school management, because everything is available from the system directly. And they have said that they actually save time, which is about 45 minutes per day, and they can use it for teaching students. And the other good results, what we see is that it has helped to reduce skipping. When we take the 10 or 15 years, I would say it's 90–95%. And it's due to the fact that parent can see if student is skipping the lesson, and they can ask or talk about it at home and find the problems, solve it, and life goes on. And parents are actually, as I said, they know what is going on in school and they are involved in the learning process. To end up with my presentation, I would say that the suggestion from our side is to change to digital. Because in order to improve the country's competitiveness, data is needed for good and quality decisions. And the data has to be accurate, and it has to be accurate from one side, and it has to be operative as well. Because there is no sense if you get the data which is already 1 year old or 2 years old, the decisions are not so, doesn't have so big quality anymore. So our suggestions here are that to improve your country's competitiveness, start with improving the education. To improve your education, you can improve it if you measure it. There are different ways how to measure it. And of course, for that, the data is needed. Data can be, or the most suitable way is to generate it on a school level, the most lowest level, and share it with relevant parties, whether it's the school, local government, or the ministry level. So I thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that you have good questions we can answer during the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanel and Triin. And now we have a little bit time for the discussion and to answering to your questions what you have asked via workshop. And I'm still encouraging during that discussion, you are also welcome to add questions there. I will look them constantly and then ask from our presenters. Don't make their life too easy, I would say. So the first questions what I have is, firstly, Triin, help me to conclude in that sense that, in your opinion, what are the key success factors when we're speaking about adoption of digital skills?
Thank you for the question. I think it's a pretty good one. And not easy to answer, definitely. I think that, like I said in my presentation, it's important to have the systematic approach so that we target people on every level, not only in the workplaces, not only in schools, but really like everywhere. And we do this continuously. And from the implementation side, I think that it's a very important part also for the government to actually stress the message that the digital skills and the competence development is important. This is something that will help you in your life and in your future, and this is that open up very many doors. So try to keep it simple, try to keep it very straightforward, but be clever and approach everybody, approach as many people as possible.
Tanel, would you like to add something?
No, I guess that answer was quite good, and thanks.
I think it actually goes very well together with the topics what we discussed also yesterday. That yesterday it came out that in order to build up the digital society, it's very important to speak about, like to have a political will and to deal with the change management, and then also the juridical or legislative part, and then the knowledge comes. And this is now this kind of competence building part, the change, that in order to lead the change management, you need to have right competences, right set of skills. So in that sense, it goes very well together.
Maybe just to comment that I think that people will come along if they actually understand their very personal benefit. If you don't see the benefit there, well, it's just another program.
Okay, let's go on with these personal benefits. Actually, there is one very concrete question for you, Daniel. E-school. You spoke about the school management system, and is this something which only works in this kind of digital society as Estonia, or you have experience also from some other countries where it works?
Yeah, thank you. Very good question. Yes, it's not only for Estonia, of course. You can use it everywhere else as well. We have actually quite a lot of projects going on in different places around the world. And what I would like to emphasize here is that we, for every country, we set up the system separately, so that if we are talking about the data security and the requirements from the country itself, that the data has to be kept on a territory of the country. So this is not a problem for us. We set the system up for every country separately, so that we can meet all the needs that there might be.
But is it also, I don't know, possible to do school by school? Or?
Yes, of course, it can be implemented school by school. It's not like it has to be done on a countrywide right away. And maybe something that I would like to emphasize or bring out also is that when we started almost 20 years ago, we didn't have computers, and we actually had like 1 or 2 computers per school, and that was not the problem. So teachers added all the information in the teacher's room, but today we are definitely on a better situation where we have more computers here in Estonia for sure, but also if we are talking about other countries, where maybe there are not so many computers in all the classrooms, but still it can be used because we have seen it from ourselves when we started. So the number of computers is not a deal breaker here.
And in today's world, we're actually, when I'm thinking on parents' side, as an everyday user of this system, is that today we're looking more like through mobile phone.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone has a computer on their pocket today. So we are definitely in a better situation today than we were 20 years ago.
Yes. So, and yes, as you said, you have also experiences from other countries and the pilots completely done.
Yes.
Very good. Going on with the concrete benefits, to show the benefits, then one thing what you mentioned, Triin, in your presentation was a program, Look at World. And it was also the Tiger Leap was mentioned from both of you. And these kind of different programs what were done in order to start to boost the digital skills. But the question what raised up from there is that why private sector decided to support it? Why private sector supports this kind of initiative? Or in Estonian case, the Look at World, why they supported it? How it's beneficial for them?
Because they are building the services, they are building their systems, and somebody has to use them. So, like Daniel said, that we had internet everywhere, but we were lacking the programs so that the schools could actually use them. The same thing is with all the services, and why the private sector came along was that they saw a business opportunity, but they also needed somebody to use it. And therefore, it was really like a natural thing to also educate the end users.
Daniel, can you bring any kind of concrete ideas?
Yeah, I can actually bring out some, maybe one concrete example is from the banking sector. So banks were actually let's say, telcos were the main parties to support these projects. And you might ask that why? The reason is that they actually saw a place where to reduce costs, because if citizens or people can use digital services, they can actually close some physical, let's say,
Bank offices.
bank offices for exactly, and if it's in internet, you can do everything there. You don't have so big costs on offices, and that was the driver for the private sector, because they saw the benefit of providing electronic services, digital services, in order to, let's say, provide manual services. And that was the key point. If they realized that, that was their new approach. And where we ended up today is that all the services, also not only the private services, but also the government services, everything is available on a digital way, because it actually reduces the costs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the very clear value or benefit there. Yesterday we spoke about digital identity and ID card and so, but I think during this kind of training programs, if we speak about citizens and look at world, and also, one of the parts there was also that why people should start to use the digital identity or ID card. Mm-hmm. Is there any kind of, again, what should be the carrot there, or any kind of examples during trainings?
Okay, I can shortly answer, and then Triin, you can comment as well. I believe that yesterday you talked about the electronic tax board. Most probably.
It will be today also.
Okay, so I won't stop on that. But for example, very simple thing. If you buy a bus ticket electronically using your ID card or some other tool to verify yourself or identify yourself, you get the cheaper price. So it's very concrete benefit for user or citizen to start using digital services, because this is the carrot. You actually reduce your own costs.
And this is the carrot why they're going to did go to this kind of trainings, yeah?
Yeah, and I also think that the time efficiency is something that increases a lot. And you don't, like Tanel said, that the banks were closing, they had an ability to close some of their offices. And not the only banks, but other institutions as well. Meaning that doing things without any paper and by using this electronic ID and the possibility to identify yourself electronically, it takes only like a couple of seconds. It's like a famous story that when Estonians go to the open world and say that, you know, in Estonia you can actually start the business in 5 minutes, then usually people just laugh at you because usually in all the old world it's impossible. Here it really does. It is possible thanks to the electronic ID and many other systems that support it. So time efficiency and the cost efficiency is something that makes the thing really important to us. And that's why we do it.
And that's actually the reason why why people went this kind of trainings, and why to educate the citizens is so important. But let's come to the other part, that the competence building in public sector, for example, how to ensure right competences in order to build up governance and boost this kind of. What are the possibilities there? Who should do it?
You mean who should?
Private sector, public sector, universities, who should be the one?
I think this is a cooperation again. But the driver here should be the government sector itself, because the understanding from their side that they need educated leaders and people working for them who know what to order, what kind of services need to be there, how to develop them, how to implement them, how this whole system comes together. So therefore, we need to educate or give these people who are actually working in this process these capabilities, these skills and competences. So yeah, the driver must be the governmental side. But always the private sector is in the final end. Because I think that everybody needs to cooperate. They really need to work together. If you have the common goal, then it's possible to work towards it. Without it,
we're finding here also, again, this kind of public-private partnership.
Absolutely.
Needed. Is the same thing also when we speak, coming back to the schools and, for example, the Tiger Leap program, and when we're speaking that how to raise up the digital skills among teachers, that they can go and give it on. Is there this kind of same collaboration, or who should be the responsible part there?
Well, maybe I can give a short, let's say, overview how we started. It actually was, there was a resistance from teachers because they saw that it's like an additional work and so on, but it was actually was not the main reason. The main reason was that they actually give away their, let's say, data or information, let's say. And how to push teachers to use digital tools. It was actually the way how it was the headmaster's work to push teachers and say, are you with us or are you not? So it was a little bit of hard game, let's put it this way, but I haven't heard that any teacher actually said that I will quit because I don't want to deal with computers at all. So it was actually not the issue.
I must say, I do have these examples.
You do?
Yes, because I was working for the Tiger Leap since 2006 for some years. And we actually, when we were implementing these teacher training programs, it was really interesting that we did see a resistance, and we have had several number of people or teachers who said that, sorry, that's not for me. I'm too old for this. I will never use ICT. I'm very good with paper and pen. And the reason why we actually made the change or were able to change the mindset was that because their colleagues started to use ICT. And that was really something very important, because we built small networks and also big networks, like national ones, of teachers who were able to help each other. We even created a new profile called educational technologist, a person who is a teacher who also has very good understanding of different programs and how to use them in school. So building a network, again, cooperation is like a key word here.
Thank you so much, Tanel and Triin. I have to say that I'm very sorry to cut off this discussion right now, because I see now it goes already like very interesting. But the main things came out: the cooperation, the need for between public-private sector for that systematic approach is needed. I'm very sorry to say that there still are some questions from workshop, but as they were in French in the beginning, my French is a little bit rusty, so I wasn't able to translate them so fastly here and to see. But we tried to find possibility to give the answers to you still, because we don't have time right now to continue on with the discussion. Thank you. In our next session, we will see very practical examples about digital public services. Various speakers during these 2 days training have also given some kind examples about e-services, and everybody saying that e-services are beneficial, they are more effective, they are helping to save money. But let's see now where exactly the benefits are, and what are these kind of practical e-services, what can help you when you're setting up the digital society. And for that, I'm very happy to welcome on the stage with us to lead the panel discussion moderator, and I dare to say that e-governance innovator, Mr. Üllar Jaakso, who will guide you through this panel discussion.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all participants of this inspiring workshop. The workshop focusing on the digital transformation. And this panel, we are going to focus on the public service transformation. E-services for private and public sector as benefit for the state by saving money, increasing efficiency, and reducing corruption. My name is Üllar Jaakso. I'm the founder of the Digital Nation, the digital transformation consultancy company. I'm also founder of the Green Energy Data Center, and I have some insights from this industry as well. I'm excited to host the panel, what is so important for the digital society development. E-services are crucial for efficiency, yes, but I think even more important is to avoid, by starting with those, the big failures. And as we say, smart people are learning from other mistakes. Let us now in this panel learn from Estonian experience, from our mistakes, and maybe even some advices. The first presentation will be given by Ms. Kedi Velba from company Actors. Company is also a member of the ICT cluster, and it will focus on the public finance management. I introduce to the floor, please, Kedi Velba.
Hello, thank you, Üllar. Nice to meet you all. Virtually this time, unfortunately, and today I will tell you a story about the Estonian public finance management, how we created the digital solution in our country, and maybe you can learn something from it. Yes, so what's the usual or typical situation is that the government is using multiple bank accounts for keeping its funds, which makes it difficult for central management, records keeping and accounting oversight, reporting, and the general overview. What we did in Estonia is that we created a budget management solution. So we digitized the whole system. And what is a budget management system, actually? So it's a central point of control that unifies the government bank accounts and all government cash management. It acts like a small banking system, which is hosted by a budget authority, where the government and public sector institutions act as customers. And the main objective is to administer and supervise the government and public sector spending, which makes it easier to have the overview and make decisions on government levels. So the budget management system is basically the focal point between the government organizations and commercial banks. And it's based on a Treasury single account principle, which means that all government institutions have the accounts inside the budget management system, and real accounts where the real money is deposited are owned and handled only by the budget authority. To explain a bit what the Treasury single account is, it's a unified structure of government bank accounts which enables the consolidation and optimum utilization of government cash resources. It separates the transaction level control from the overall cash management. And it's basically a bank account or a set of linked bank accounts through which the government transacts all of its receipts and payments and gets a consolidated view of its cash position at the end of each day. The budget management system, as I already mentioned before, is connected with the government organizations as well as the commercial banks, and also it's connected to the budget planning system, which makes the general management easier. And about the main processes of the budget management system, what are these? There are 5 big different processes that we will look a bit more in detail into, which are the reservation of funds, payments, loans and interest calculation, security management, and also the budgetary reporting side. So what is the reservation of funds? Before a large non-regular payment is needed to be done by a government organization, the government organization notifies the budget authority about the amount of money that the budget authority needs to have on its bank account in order to make the planned payments on behalf of the organization. When the payments are going out of the solution, the payment orders are created by the public sector organizations themselves, either through the system's web-based user interface, or they are imported from the files or from the electronic messages. The approved payment orders are going to be sent to the commercial banks at the predefined intervals using electronic channels for execution. And the system can also be linked to many different banks to reduce the transaction costs, as the intrabank payments usually cost less than the payments between different banks. After processing the payment orders, which go from the commercial bank to the system, the bank returns the payment statuses, which are used to update the virtual account balances and other statuses. And if the payments are failed, then they will be automatically resent. About the incoming payments, the process is quite similar. The payments made by the external parties to a government organization are processed by a commercial bank and credited to the bank account owned by the budget authority. Notifications, again, on such transactions are going to be sent to the budget management system, and the system automatically retrieves the account statement from the commercial bank, processes it, creates corresponding transactions on virtual accounts in its system, and it can be seen in the budget management solution. The system also supports loans and interest calculations if this is needed. It can offer the overdraft services and issue loans to government organizations. Also, securities management is a part of it. It has special accounts for the securities management, and it also supports the transactions with the securities. So the solution we have here created in Estonia is also supporting very many different budgetary reporting solutions. For example, the budget execution summary, budget execution details, income remaining funds, payment summary, account summary, turnover, and many other report types that could be used for decision making, preparing the meetings, or also preparing the annual report. So here are some of the benefits of using the budget management system. The budget management system guarantees a central point of control and reporting of the entire public sector spending. It allows complete and timely information on government cash resource. It plans and implements budget execution in an efficient, transparent, and reliable manner. It enables an efficient cash management, reduces costs on budget spending and management, cost of personnel, and also the time to make the payments and transfer the funds. So in general, the solution, as it is connected also to the budget planning system, it saves a lot of time, makes the decision-making easier and also faster and more efficient. Thank you. This is all from my side.
Thank you very much, Katie. We are moving now forward. The next panel, the presentation will be the practical case study about the e-justice and the local government management system. It will be presented by Roja Kamal Ahmed, also from the company Actors, the company also member of the ICT cluster. And this will give us good insights on another important topic for every society, it's the e-justice. Please, Roja, floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here today to share my experience of digital transformation in justice domain and change management in the local government today with you. I hope it will be interesting to you all. So, as we can see recently, information and communication technology applications, integration into different domains provided new opportunity for governments to modernize their service provision to the citizen. In terms of better service delivery and improved internal administration, it also increased transparency. Therefore, demand on e-government implementation is globally increasing. And justice domain or judiciaries are part of this flow of digital transformation in order to deliver more efficient and effective justice services. However, decision to move toward digital transformation and e-government implementation requires in-depth analysis and strategy to guarantee a clear roadmap, blueprint to digital inclusion. Justice systems are using emerging technologies to reshape the conventional system of justice administration and to improve their internal daily processes to increase efficiency of courts and case administrations. And the workflow of court is digitized through the implementation of court information system, or it can also be called an electronic court systems. So the e-court system helps to digitize court processes, organize and manage collaborative activities executed by different parties between court and outside related agencies. It also presents various benefits such as online accessibility, timeliness, transparency, data accuracy, secured access to the files and information of court, and many more. If you want to mention more benefits of technology integration with justice systems, it could include reduced storage, flexible retrieval of data and records, flexible indexing by default of court records. It can also improve and provide faster and more flexible search. It also controls and improves document distribution between different parties inside courts. It can improve security as well. It can provide protection during the disaster recovery. And it also provides better digital archiving for court files. And finally, it improves customer service and satisfaction. It's also necessary to know who are the bodies or people or participants that are beneficial side of implementation of digital transformation in justice sector and implementation of e-court systems. First of all, judges are the main body inside this digital transformation who can get better overview of cases and tasks, what they have. They can get balanced workload through case assignment based on judges' workload. Also, people who are responsible for court performance, like normal clerks, can get how many proceedings started and ended in a given time frame through better statistics. They can also identify workload for judges and make human resources modification and reorganization better. People responsible for archiving department, they can use the system as a tool to allow them to search for cases and relevant documents as well. Court administrative personnel will have possibility to use less paper through electronic document management. They can also have better service for people and other state agencies which rely on data created by the courts. And finally, public people who are the citizen can get more efficient court that are achieved through implementation of e-court solution. From here, I would like to share with you a quick overview about our recent successful experience of the implementation of e-court system in the Kurdistan region of Iraq as a case study. So when we started the system or the project, we started in 2014. We had a totally paper-based court system. And then we started with organizational changes and implementation of the e-court system and introduced the first e-court pilot in one of the courts in 2015. Then by the end of 2016, we had a fully e-court system working in all the courts, and we had a one-stop shop inside the court. So our system provides all functionalities that are necessary for performing all internal daily work by courts and police stations and prosecution offices. They can access to the system in the same time and work together during the collaborative tasks. In addition to that, we have a portal that allows lawyers and case participants from citizen side and also related agencies to work with courts during the case processing stage, and they can access the system and have possibility to see their case statuses and track it. So currently we have about 1,005 active users who are using the system on a daily basis. We have different types of main cases and subtype of cases. Depending on the law, it's customizable. We have also a set of adjustable types of templates and documents that are set in the system. Up to today, we have huge number of electronic cases and electronic hearings being registered into the system. After the system has been implemented, we have done a set of scientific research and investigation somehow in order to see if we have seen any improvement after this digital transformation or not. So we found out that we have set of or number of improvements starting from transparency. We have seen that transparency is increased a lot in internal daily operation in comparison to the paper-based system. We have seen security of court cases also improved. The access to the justice or judiciary has been extended through the remote access by judges and all participants. For example, we have right now judges that can access to the system from home during they are traveling, or doesn't matter where they are, they can access anytime, remotely of course. We have also electronic registers help to provide more organized view of the court records. Document generation functionality, accelerating the judgment process. And we have a fair and transparent automatic case distribution among judges. We now can provide more robust and faster statistics. We have more efficient electronic case registration process, which was taking long time to process case registration, but right now we can do it in a matter of a few minutes. We have a faster case transfer between different institutions. Previously, it was cases were moved by a human, and it was taking longer time for processing. Right now, in one click, case can be transferred from one institution to another. Electronic notification, finally, is providing a faster information sharing between participants. Within these improvements, however, we had faced some challenges which I would like to share with you here as a lessons. For example, we had a challenge of lack of digital signature in the infrastructure of the country. So we were not able to provide digital signature on court documents. We found out that we have a lack of IT skilled personnel inside the court also. Lack of supportive legal framework for full electronic transaction. We had also some external issues like instability of internet connection, lack of provision of electricity, especially in some rural areas where police stations exist and they couldn't constantly connect to the system and work with court together. We had a problem with citizen engagement. Or probably, let's say, the awareness is not at the level that they can use the system, or they need to have more trust in order to be able to engage and use the system. We also found out that we need a constant training for court staff. Also, from court side, some judges and responsibles said that we need more human resources to make the system working perfectly. So, by the end, our main message today for you is that we want to say that e-court system is a crucial solution for justice systems around the world to ensure better service delivery and provide more efficient and effective case administration processes. However, the successful digital transformation process, maybe not in justice, in all other sectors, but I here particularly mean justice systems, and implementation of e-court system depend on the existence of some main enablers, which are, first of all, will for transformation, existence of ICT infrastructure, having a plan and analysis, having enough human resources, having regulatory framework, citizen awareness, organizational changes that are needed before to start the implementation. We need also to concern about public-private partnership and training IT skills. Budgeting also is an important point that needs to be set. And finally, we need to have and design an integrated information system that is suitable as requested by the client side. Thank you very much for listening. And here are some publications on this case study, what we have done. So if you are interested, you can see it. And thanks once more.
Thank you, Ms. Rosa Kamal Ahmed from company Actors, to presenting us this e-justice case study here. And as we saw, the efficiency and transparency are the keywords there, but like every other system, also the e-justice system is part of the bigger picture, where many compliance elements are needed for this. The next case will focus on the e-health, and I'm honored to present the floor to Mr. Igor Bosenko from company Codality, who has enormous experience from the e-health and health systems, both on the hospital and national level, and also members of the ICT cluster is the company Codality. Please, Igor, the floor is yours. Yeah.
I am very glad to introduce the most important aspects of Estonian healthcare. I really like this domain. It's a domain where I work for last 26 years, and not only work in Estonia, but we also have different projects in Finland, Lithuania, United Arab Emirates, and other countries. And not only work, we also participate in the standard developments in different meetups. It's quite important in case of e-health to understand what is the current standard, what is the future of Estonia, of healthcare in the world totally. But if we will return to Estonia and look into history, the history of Estonian healthcare starts from restoration of Estonian independence. And first, maybe most important fact was introducing of national ID. It's most common step for whole country. But in case of healthcare, one of the most important steps was foundation of Central Estonian Healthcare Insurance Fund. This fund is responsible for every kind of budgeting of healthcare in our country. And another important steps was developing of hospital information system and system for general practitioners by our country for free. It was a very important step when most of our healthcare facilities got informational system and start using electronic health records. As a result, Estonian Health Insurance Fund got answer to the question how money spent. And it was a very important step because starting from this moment, we can plan our money, we can track how budget spent and so on, even online. But not only money important in our case, the treatment records, they still in hospitals. And this was the reason why the next step was done, the step of funding of Estonian eHealth Foundation. eHealth Foundation is responsible for developing different healthcare projects. It wasn't an easy step, as you see on the slide, from planning to deploying of working system. We go for 8 years, so it's quite a big distance. But with Estonian e-health, we start developing health systems very quickly. National health information system was introduced in end of 2008, and one of the most efficient e-prescription system was introduced in 2010. Estonian eHealth Foundation was founded by Ministry of Social Affairs and 3 largest Estonian hospitals, and also some unions of healthcare specialists. And in addition to development, Estonian Health Foundation also responsible for hosting of health application, for planning healthcare. Yeah, it's most important things. Okay. The most important things, or most important statistics about Estonian e-health you can see on this slide. But I want to describe our insurance system. So in Estonia, we have social tax for 26%, and 13% is healthcare insurance. We have solidary healthcare insurance. It means that every person pay for 13%, not depending on male, gender, age, or whatever. All this money come to healthcare insurance fund, and we have like state responsibility behind that, and the health insurance fund create contracts with healthcare facilities and buy different health services from our providers. But building of a proper healthcare system is impossible without proper laws that regulate access to clinical data. And the most important of them is actually requirements to send all health information from healthcare facility to national health information system. The another thing is ability to access to this data by our doctors. So every healthcare professional who have license can access this data if data is opened. And in opposite, every patient can close this data if it don't want for some reason to see or give access to doctors. But developing of our system, it's something that continues. You can see the list of different registers that work in in Estonia, and developing of every of these registers is actually continued. It's impossible to stop and say that all things that we do is ready. Healthcare, it's always living system that should be developed continuously. And the next is example of one of the hospital information system. This shows that actually from 90s to today, our system changing, and today most of our system is web-based with beautiful user interface and look pretty well and provide good information and useful information. We cannot, if we speak about healthcare, we speak about security and anti-notification. And one of the most important things is access, how is regulated access to data. In our case, access to healthcare data possible only with strong authentication. So users should use ID card, mobile IDs or smart ID for accessing health information. when a healthcare facility sent information to National Health Information System, it should be proved. And for proving, we use digital signing by healthcare professional or digital stamping by healthcare facilities to prove that medical document or medical record is correct and everyone else can trust it. There are many other important things like separation of personal data from medical data. It means that personal data is stored in one database, medical data in another database. And for example, if it's impossible, but if patient data will be stolen, then there will be only patient data. Or if medical data will be stolen, there are only reference to patients without names behind that. So it's one of the things. There are many additional protections like or security issues like encryption of databasing, monitoring, different kind of transparency like secure tail and so on. It's quite important to be sure that all data is integrity of data provided in proper way, and nobody can access to data without tracking in the log. In Estonia, we're very happy with the results behind that we achieved. For example, we have 100% of electronic medication prescriptions, or 97% of hospital discharge letters, and so on. And again, the number of documents in central database or National Health Information System is bigger than number of citizens in the countries. This again one example of application that available today that give overview of electronic data in our system. It's international patient summary that this picture give overview about analysis. And again, even in case when we have a very good system, we continue to develop and improve it. We migrating national system from HL7 version 3 to most modern standard to FHIR. We improve data quality. We update technologies to be on the top and so on. And we try to be, and we think that we one of the best and flagship of healthcare, not only in Europe, but probably also in the world. If our experience seems to be useful for you, then you can also to reuse it. Here is a list of the possible topics that may be reused, like vision of healthcare digitalization, like different kinds of expertise for building complex healthcare solutions, change management, and also the list of software suites that is possible to use in one or another way with some adoption or sometimes even without them. And it's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Igor, for your insights on the e-health. We have taken a journey back almost 30 years with your help, and this has been summarized in 20 minutes, but it's definitely a difficult task. But now, after listening to the insights from the justice, from the healthcare, and also public finance, there are definitely more public e-services where the transformation and transition is needed, and I hope my panelists will help me to go a bit more, maybe level up, and to discuss the difficulties of and challenges and opportunities when implementing changes in the e-services. Just introduce once again our panelists. We have, starting from my right hand, we have Kedi Velba from Company Actors, we have Rosa Kamal Ahmed also from Company Actors, and then just recently presentation made by Igor Posenko, who also is on the panel now. And maybe we start from the very general question from the, what are those key enablers that are needed for the success? We know that there are, infrastructure was mentioned by you, processes, political will and push, but maybe in the short answers we can once more emphasize those key enablers. And maybe I will start from you, Igor, as you just recently joined us from this panel here. Please, what are your thoughts on that?
From my experience, everything should start from laws, from wishes and from laws. So if you want to do something, you should, first of all, you should to regulate, because in case of healthcare data, it's very delicate topic. You should be sure that every step that you do is correct. So it's a very important thing. Another thing is wishes of different, from different peoples, from different specialities to get result. So it's quite important to put working people together from ministry, from hospitals, from different healthcare unions, for example, to get to understand what is the final goal, and then go step by step to the result.
Thank you. I think you pointed a very important topic. It's a legal framework, and I think Estonia very often looked from outside is seen as a digital nation. And we talk quite a lot about digital technologies, but we actually don't enough about the legal framework. And that probably brings us back to the Rosa, to your presentation, when you say that the e-justice system also should be digitalized. I think the legal framework doesn't only have to be supportive, but also have to be also digitalized itself to give the transparency. But what are your thoughts, the key enablers for any e-service transformation?
For me. From our case study, which I already presented, and I mentioned some key enablers, which already legal framework was one of the most important ones. For example, we had main challenge that we didn't have ICT infrastructure that are supported by the law. So, for example, in Iraqi law, unfortunately, the whole digitalized process is not supported by the law. We do not have law for digital signature as well. So we had to work in parallel to have the both systems still paper-based and the electronic-based as well, until we come to the stage where we need to produce or introduce new laws that make the electronic process valid and legal. So yeah, I would say it's a very important stage that we could start with.
It's good that we have learnings from the real practice from different countries and case studies, because the first movers don't have that benefit to know the answers of others or the mistakes of others. And that brings me also then to you, Kedi, that you have been also many years in this business, and you've seen different transformation in different countries. Could you also elaborate on your thoughts on those key enablers?
We're starting to repeat ourselves already, as I totally agree with previous speakers that the legal framework, the political will, everything is very important. But I would maybe bring an example about the budget management system, how we did it in Estonia when we started in 2007. Then our bonus, or the good starting point, was that we already had a very good banking environment in Estonia, and also the X-Road, the national interoperable interoperability platform was already existing. So it was easier to create a solution like that. So we just did interfaces to the commercial banks to enable the payments. And also the X-Road enabled us to connect the different budget authorities to the budget management ecosystem. So this is an enabling environment example from Estonia, that you need to have some kind of basic foundation in place to start digitalization.
Thank you very much. Igor would like to add something to that.
Yeah, and when we have laws, when we have infrastructure, the next important thing is a change management. Because when we implement something new, we typically should based on something. We should have some framework for knowledge also. Maybe in case of banking, it's some interoperability standards for data exchange or so on. In case of healthcare, it's standards for exchange of healthcare information. It's standards for terminology. We should put different sides to thinking in the same way. For example, in healthcare, we use SNOMED, where is more than 400,000 terms or concepts. It's quite difficult to find out the proper one in case of some specialty or domain on some use case. But it should be done. It should be done, in my case, by healthcare specialists to provide proper output and be on the same plate.
What I hear from you is that actually we should not be afraid of launching key services, because most of the key terms I'm hearing from all you panelists are the typical management topics like change management, stakeholder interest coordination, and all those topics that are actually anyway need to be done. I think the most fascinating article last I read was about that let's kill IT departments. There should not be any more like functional departments and IT department. Every department should have its own IT skill set inside the department. But moving forward from this, I would like to bring to the second question is that how much should public authorities, public institutions invest into the IT and to have results, and what is actually how it should be invested? If I give a bit broader framework on that, is that what is the importance of the supplier and the receiver, the developer of the system, and then the operator, that what's the handover process, how much wisdom you should give over on that period, and also what kind of cooperational model you should do there, whether it's so famous in the enterprise sector like an agile environment, or more known in the public sector as a waterfall system where you do anything from back to the beginning. Those keywords, and maybe also the typical keywords in this public procurement. Should we do it cheap or good? Or should we do the compromise of something there? Those keywords I leave in the air here, and I would like to maybe come to you, Kedi, now with the question, what do you think, how the money should be invested, and how much it should be invested, and where we can start with those kind of changes?
It's a very difficult question, actually, because when the government sector does a procurement or is procuring a software, then actually the money that's behind it is even double or triple that's put in the tender, because there's also the human resources aspect, the testing, the software, the training, the people who participate in the brainstorming and decision making and so on. So it's very difficult to say what the investment should be, and technology is definitely not the only aspect to consider. We also need to consider the human aspect or human resources aspect in that.
Thank you. Rosa, I would turn the same question to you as well. Maybe you can elaborate your thoughts on that, maybe on the aspect of proactiveness of the companies and who is actually responsible for the product, because it all comes down to the use cases and the actual benefit to the end user, the citizen of that. Where is the balance between the procurement and the supplier about the product ownership and how it should be managed?
I think it's different from one country to different country. Actually, it all depends on the type of the contract that can be made between public and private partners, also between the government and between the government who are willing to have the product and the company or private companies that are providing the product. So I would say that, for example, during the project implementation, the responsibilities should be shared between them. They both should be responsible for all the sides of the project till the end. However, maybe during the contract there should be somehow like a period to be extended for the support, for maintenance, and so on. So all depends on the contract and will for both parties how to want to contribute in such projects.
As it is case by case, then it brings me to the question, Igor, to you, is that definitely you can have like on-the-shelf solution, you can have more customized solution, you can have customized solution, but then anyway you need add a lot of local interactions and local interconnections and interoperability issues there as well. You have been in middle of the processes and projects in different countries over the decades already. What is your experience? How much should be invested time and effort into this question between the on-shelf for customization, large brands, or the innovative new companies, where the best compromise is there?
The maybe most important thing is again knowledge, and system, typically good system, is done by experts. For example, let's start from Estonia. In Estonia, we have fighting for experts, for talents, because private company can provide bigger salaries, and it's actually very difficult to government organization to hold very good specialists. But at the end of it, government institutions are responsible for projects. Yes, typically this project done by private companies that have very many different experts, and this cooperation typically is very good, very tight. Like Kadi says, very many discussions that may sometime to double budget or whatever. But every time we should to understand each other. It means that provider and government organization, they should speak same language. They should understand the domain quite more or less in the same way. This is the guarantee of success, and it's quite important. Maybe at the beginning to trust experts from outside, maybe to have different additional education sessions to get on the same plate very quickly, and after that to have very good and productive discussions.
Thank you, Igor, for that answer. We have mentioned here a couple of times already in your answers the public-private partnership topic, and I think the key word here is about the partnership and who are the partners. It's probably built on the trust. Definitely the one source for the trust is the expertise, as you mentioned here. And I'm lucky to have here today on the panel with me the people who actually spend quite many years on collecting this experience here, and hoping that our listeners will also turn to you and ask for additional advice on those matters. But do you believe into the public-private partnership? You have seen probably both the failures and successes, and based on your personal experience from those, what's the way forward? Should it be only private supply, only public development, or is there still a future for the public-private partnership? And what is best for the public sector in this term? Maybe start this time again, Kadi, from you.
Yes, I definitely do believe in the public-private partnership, because I think actually the cooperation is the key to success. I would maybe ask a provocative question that why should the government do it or do the solutions themselves? For example, in Estonia, it's a very common model, and it also makes maybe the private sector more eager also to use the solutions that are developed as well. If public, let's make an example, a public sector institution needs to make some software and they don't have any software department or the competencies. They need to do one product, which is a one-time basically project. They need to hire, let's say, 20 Java developers, create an IT department, and in 1 or 2 years, when the solution is ready, what do they do with the people? They need to, again, get rid of the people. So I don't see it as a very effective way to govern the country. There's definitely a lot better to do instead of coordinating all of this software management side. So I would say that it's always good to trust and have some cooperation with the private sector and trust them in what they are good in and what they have been doing for years already. Not to invent the wheel, you know.
I already predict the answers from the next two presentations. Panelists will be also that they believe, but I would like to have also your arguments. If you believe, then why you into public-private partnership?
I would also agree with Kedi that I think this is the most successful model from, at least from the literature what I have studied on the e-governance topic. I have seen that most of the countries who have successful implementation, they rely mainly on public-private partnership. So I would agree, and of course there should be trust between both parties, and responsibilities as well should be shared.
Igor, what is your comment on that?
How to say? From my experience, all depend from size of solution, actually. So if you have something very small, very specialized, is it possible to provide it as is? Without any customization, and you can just install it and provide some additional manuals for using, and so on. For example, laboratory information system, it's very complex, it's very close, it relates mostly with laboratory devices. But if we go from devices to people, we should to communicate. We should to look into cultural difference, to linguistic difference, and all other things. So every installation that I had, it's actually very different. Many different integrations, many different aspects that I never think about it. For example, I currently have negotiation with one Asia country, and in Estonia we never think about internet or quality of internet. But in this solution, we should adopt our system and provide a new version of it that is not centralized, that is like a distributed solution because of bad quality of internet in country, at least at that moment. And it's like part of discussion every time, part to finding proper solution, part of adopting new software to this context. And it's possible only in cooperation, because in case when we come to another place, we are not so familiar with this culture, with current situation, with current laws.
Thank you. It's good to be interactive. We have very active listeners. We also have questions from our workshop participants, and the question is actually very interesting angle of that how much Estonia has been using the experience from other countries and the learnings from the published books mentioned so well by Rosa here, that is the Estonian experience unique, created from Estonian specific needs, or we have somehow managed to aggregate the best practices and also the published practices around the world into these conceptualized concepts?
I can start. For example, every time when we create a new healthcare solution, actually we not the first who implemented this some small part of it. But typically, we are one of the first who adopt many different technologies, combine them together, and show to the world, and adopt them also, and show to the world that we are the number one. It's actually what we are doing in healthcare. We don't try to reinvent bicycle. We try to get the better part from different sides and put the better bicycle that is possible.
Kedi, your experience personal?
I agree with Igor, and I think it applies to many sectors in Estonia or many software fields as well. For example, if we talk about interoperability and the X-Road platform, then also Estonia was just too poor at the time to buy expensive licenses and take some other solutions into Estonia. So we took the best experience and the knowledge we had from abroad and created our own solution.
Okay. Your experience, Rosa?
Yeah, my experience, actually, I would like to rely on the studies or available literature which I went through during my PhD study on e-governance and digital transformation. I'm right now seeing that it's very interesting that becoming like a competition between countries who will produce the best version of this digital environment, let's say. And it's very important that each country gets experience or learn from experience from each others to not do the same mistakes that previously done in order to save time, cost, and human resources as well. So yeah, it's like an experience that needs to be shared worldwide, so we know what to pick from each country, what the best part they have made.
Yeah, I think it well summarizes my own personal experience from this 25 years, that we have never been, not too often been the first technology inventors, but we have been the fastest to implement, but maybe even more important, fastest to learn from mistakes. I think we have the natural benefit here being so small country, like 1.3 million people only, but gives no possibility to hide mistakes because everybody knows everyone and mistakes are quickly shared. And I think that also the last 10 years of attention that Estonia has from outside coming here, we're actually sharing our experience. It's never the monologue, it's always the dialogue. And we get the feedback, we get the other experiences, what could work there, what could not work. And that makes our experience becoming more and more universal and also improving our own system here. I think that's the experience what I have. Maybe the last question, very practical question, is whenever you talk about technology, Kedi, you mentioned about the licenses, that where we were a young country, we didn't have enough money for those expensive licenses. Now, if you look at the enterprise world, it very often moves towards the software as a service concept instead of proprietary software or the specific software developed for one use case only. What are your personal experience here or recommendations to the public sector, how to procure solutions, what kind of licenses they should dream of, whether it's a license to sell, license to use, license to develop it further, what kind of practical advice on that topic?
Maybe I repeat myself, but if you need something small, is it laboratory system or some documentation system, or wiki, Confluence, you can just take a box product. If you need something bigger, if you need a banking system, healthcare system, you should have ability to change it. In whatever way is it. We have different ways how we license our solutions. For example, with some territory limitations, so you can use it only on this territory or for some other reason. But you should have some ability to develop it. It's at least for us, it's quite important. If we do something, these things should live. It's the worstest thing if your product that you installed doesn't work, at least for me.
Okay. Kedi?
I'm definitely not an expert of licenses, but what I also agree with Igor, and I would say that software needs constant development, because already in Estonia also we have too many legacy systems that need maintenance support, but actually sometimes the solutions need to be totally reviewed and need a lot of additional developments.
If I interfere myself here, I think the last 2 years have shown to the world that you can prepare for everything, but then you need to rebuild everything when something hits you, like this COVID pandemic has hit the world during the last 2 years, where the many procedures that were so well developed, whether they're crossing the border or presenting your health documentation, has all changed over the night, basically. And I think that's the quite important topic as well. Trying to summarize our panel, we have a few more minutes left. I think it comes all down to the people. It was told that we need to have talented people with experience to create the concepts. We need one kind of persons and people who are the creators of the new technologies, creators of implementers of them, and then we move to the operational phase of that already. And I think the public-private partnership is more about getting the concepts right, getting the development done, and then operational phase, it very much depends from the specific use case of the software there. And I think these services are nothing in itself. It's related to the other panels we had during this workshop here. It's identification. Who is there, what he wants to sign. It's the infrastructure to get access to everyone, and then the use cases to serve on the best public partnership way here. And for the closing remarks, any of you have one more minute to comment on that. The most important takeaway from this panel, from your presentation for our listeners of the panel. Rosa, I'll start this time from you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like also to mention one extra point, which is the reprocessing, like the reprocess or re-engineering of the current process on the paper base is a very important topic that we need to focus also on and to not forget about, because if we when it comes to the digital transformation, we need to remind ourselves that the main goal of this transformation is saving time, efficiency, and cost as well. So if we come to transform the current paper process into digital, we may not see that efficiency or effectiveness as a result. But I would say from our experience that we need to make re-engineering of the old processes and make them less. And of course, I would repeat that there should be main enablers in place before we start this digital transformation in all domains. Thank you.
Katie, your one more takeaway.
Yes, coming back to the PPP model, then I would say that don't be afraid of the private-public partnership. I have been to many countries where the government also thinks or wants to do things themselves, and finally they still end up turning to the private sector. Trust your people, trust your private sector, and work in collaboration. And also it's very important to have some key foundational things in place. For example, we have been talking about the EID or the interoperability, so and also the legal framework. So start from the basics and take it from there.
Igor, and closing takeaway from your side.
Yeah, don't afraid to start changing. Don't afraid to jump. We say, sometimes we say that if we build a house last, we have the chance to build the better house. Because you can invite the better technologies, you can invite the better specialists to build this better house. So don't afraid to change yourself.
Thank you very much.
Maybe just to add briefly that don't be also afraid to learn from others. As Üllar also mentioned, we have been in Estonia building up our e-society for the past 25 years. So Estonia is one of the examples, but there are many more. So take the best advice from different countries and choose your own way to go forward.
With that, closing words from my side, I'm been honored to lead this panel here about the e-services. I thank you very much, Hedi Velba from Actors. I thank you very much, Rosa Kammal Ahmed also from company Actors, and Igor Posenko from company Codality, and me, Ulla Riakso from Digital Nation. Our experience was shared with you. Looking forward for the next questions already offline. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the panelists and also to Uller for moderating and holding together this discussion. But I think after so informative and very interesting discussion, we all have deserved a little break. So we will have now a short lunch break, I hope you have a time now to grab a lunch, and also if you have a little bit time in the same time you can see, we will show you a short video about e-governance and real-life services, how they could work in, let's say, integrated way. So now we will have a break and we will be back 12:45 to continue with a program and with very practical examples. For example, we will speak about tax authorities. So hope to see you all back after 45 minutes.
Welcome to this demonstration of e-governance solutions based on experience from Estonia, a country widely recognized as one of the world's leading digital societies. This presentation is prepared for you by the members of the Estonian ICT cluster in partnership with the Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In this demonstration, we look at the different ways a citizen can use public sector services. We start with registering the birth of a child, and then registering the child for school, e-health solutions, business activities, the border crossing system, justice systems, and real estate transactions. At the end of the presentation, we will look at how financial transactions accrue to the state budget management system and how information is exchanged between the systems using an interoperability system called the Unified Exchange Platform. To get started, the citizen will use their unique digital ID number to log into the Citizen Portal, a central gateway to all public sector services. He or she enters their personal ID number and password and presses Login using Smart ID. A verification code is then sent to their mobile phone, and once they verify their identity with the PIN number, they are logged in. The same login procedure is used to access any public sector service in Estonia. As we can see, Michael Williams is logged into the system, and there is information automatically pulled in from the person and marriage registries. Michael is married to Jean Williams, and they have 2 children. Today, Michael and Jean are celebrating the birth of a new child, and since it was a home birth, Michael needs to register the birth in the person registry. He therefore enters the registry and starts the process by entering his ID code and Jean's, chooses the gender of the child, the date and time of the birth, and the weight and height of the child. Once this information has been submitted, the birth is registered. We can see information about the new child in the Citizen Portal. However, the child does not yet have a name. In fact, every new child gets their digital ID before they get their given name. To register the name of their child, Michael once again enters the person registry, where after entering the name for the child, George, the process is completed. Looking at the Citizen Portal, we can now see that the information about the child is complete. While in the Citizen Portal, Michael notices that George's sister, Maria, has not been registered for school yet. To register Maria for school, Michael uses the e-school system. Before Michael can start, though, the administrator of the e-school system must open the registration process. The e-school system is used to manage student and teacher information, curricula, class scheduling, grading, and communication between students, teachers, parents, and government officials. The administrator starts the admission process and loads new student information from the population and address registries. It is now possible for Michael to register Maria for school, so he selects one of the 3 schools presented to him. The school selection is based on where Jean and Michael live, the local school district, and other factors. Michael selects the first option presented, and his choice is automatically sent to the e-school system. The administrator of the system can now see the school selection by the parents and can confirm the selection. In the citizen portal, we can see now that Maria has a designated school. Next, we look at the eHealth Systems. In this scenario, Michael is taken to the hospital by ambulance, and we can see how patients are registered in the hospital and provided an initial diagnosis in the hospital information system. For expediency, we can see that Dr. Martens is already logged into the system. To get the patient registration started, the doctor enters Michael's ID number. At this point, Dr. Martens has already examined Michael, so he can enter both the registration and the initial diagnosis. He enters that Michael arrived at the hospital by ambulance, selects the diagnosis from the standard classification database. In this case, he selects pneumonia. As a comment on arrival, he enters high fever, difficulty breathing. Once he saves the information, we can see Michael's full medical history, including the diagnosis just provided. In this screen, the doctor can also issue a prescription for Michael. He enters amoxicillin as the medication at a strength of 1,000 milligrams to be taken orally, and the name of the specific medicine from the selection. He enters the prescription date and when the prescription will expire, 2 weeks from the issue date. He also enters instructions for how the medication has to be taken, and once again selects pneumonia from the standard classification of conditions. As notes, he enters heavy fluid intake, doctor visit in 1 week. With all the information entered and the prescription ready, Michael can now collect the medicine from the pharmacy. When Michael goes to the pharmacy, the pharmacist enters Michael's personal ID to see all prescriptions issued to Michael. We can see that Michael has an older prescription which has already been used and a new one just issued. When issuing the medicine to Michael, the pharmacist receives information about other medications with the same active ingredient. In this case, the pharmacist will continue with the medicine prescribed, and hopefully Michael will be feeling better soon. Next, we will look at business-related activities. Michael is starting a new company, and he enters the business portal to carry out the registration. We can see that he is an owner of one company already. To start the registration of the new company, he enters the company name, International Logging Limited, and Forestry and Logging is added as its business activity. After entering the starting share capital of the company and the company address, he enters his ID number as the shareholder and declares that he will own 100% of the company with a seat on the company board. Once he saves the information, the Memorandum of Association is generated, and after he signs it digitally, the company is registered. Coming back to the starting page, we now see that he is the owner of 2 companies. While already in the system, Michael will also declare taxes for the other company he owns. After entering the tax registry, Michael selects the first of the 2 companies he owns and chooses the year and quarter he's declaring tax for. As he enters 100,000 euros as the revenue and 80,000 as the cost of goods sold, we can see automatic calculations below for his tax obligations. After entering 5,000 for the business expenses and a depreciation of 2,000, we see that the total tax due is 1,560 euros. After saving the data, Michael can choose to distribute dividends, and after selecting 50,000 euros, we can see that as he is the sole shareholder, the full amount will be paid out to him. Next, we look at the State Border Administration. As Michael's companies deal with timber exports, he often needs to cross the state border. If he just drives to the border and waits in the queue, it would take a long time. Fortunately, he can use the queue management system to provide the necessary documents and reserve a time for crossing the border in advance. After he enters the system, he must choose the border crossing point, followed by the queue type. Priority queue is for perishable and dangerous goods, and live queue is without the specified time for crossing the border. As Michael knows the exact time he will be crossing the border, he chooses the pre-reserved queue. After selecting a time for crossing the border, he enters his ID number, name, travel document number, vehicle registration number, and vehicle type. In his case, truck with goods. After verifying the data, the information is automatically available to the Border Patrol and Customs officials. As the final step in the registration, Michael makes a payment to cover the border crossing fee. Let's switch hats and look at the system from the border official's side. He can see information about all cars, trucks, and buses coming to the border in advance. And as we can see, Michael's registration is at the bottom of the list. There is a clipboard icon next to Michael's registration, which means that he has been automatically and randomly selected to go through an in-depth customs check. There are other notifications in the list. A green mark next to the name means that the data comes directly from the population registry, and a red warning means that the person has a criminal record. In one case, we see a notification flag by the ID number. When clicking on detail, the official can see that this person has a history of human trafficking. Armed with this kind of advanced knowledge, the Border Patrol and customs officials can prepare and schedule the workload for the smooth passage of vehicles across the border. Continuing with our presentation, we now look at e-justice solutions. In this scenario, Michael has a conflict with a business partner, and he has decided to go to court against them. To enter the claim, Michael enters the commercial court solution from the citizen portal. He's given a choice whether to enter the claim on behalf of himself as a person or as a company representative. He chooses the latter. To get the claim started, he chooses International Timber Limited as the claimant and selects Defendant Advance Exports from the list of companies retrieved directly from the business registry. Next, he is presented with a choice of case types. He selects contract violation and for the claim summary, delinquent payments. He chooses to add a proof of claim document to the case to complete the claim info, and now he is once again required to pay a state fee. After entering the credit card information, the card number, expiry date, and security code, and submitting the payment, the claim is now entered into the e-justice system. To see where the claim goes next, we need to log into the system as a court clerk. For the purposes of the demonstration, the login process is simplified. In real life, the clerk would use their ID number-based authentication method. Once logged in, the clerk can see the new claim in the dashboard, with the status pending. And upon opening it, the detailed claim information is displayed. To register the case, the clerk starts by selecting a judge. When selecting the judge, she notices that there are red notifications next to the names of some of the judges, which means that they're not best suited for this particular case, based on the workload of the judge, expertise, or a potential conflict of interest. As Justice Bert Alfred does not have any conflicts, she goes forward with him as the judge for the case. After registering the case, the clerk continues with scheduling a hearing. She starts by selecting a suitable date and time from the calendar. As we can see, the calendar is synchronized with the judge's calendar. To choose participants in the hearing, the list of shareholders of both companies is directly retrieved from the business registry. She selects all of them, Michael Williams as the claimant, and Anthony Jones and Stephen Ellison representing the defendant. Now that the hearing is registered, notifications are automatically sent to all participants. Moving forward in time, the judge now logs into the system during the hearing. Upon opening the case, now with the status of pre-trial, he can enter the judgment information by selecting the judgment type, in this case, consent judgment. He can also upload any case-related documents. After choosing fine for defendant as a sanction and entering fine of 10,000 euros as the judgment summary, he completes the hearing and effectively the case. As we can see, the process is fully automated, and all steps other than the hearing can be handled without the claimant or the defendant ever having to physically come to the courthouse. As a matter of fact, if both parties provide adequate documentation and the case is clear, the judge can render the judgment without the physical hearing. Continuing the demonstration, we now look at real estate transactions. In the real estate section of the Citizen portal, we can see that Michael already owns one property in Kenya. As he is interested in buying another property, he enters the land registry. After verifying his identity, he can look at his properties or start a search for a property. Upon selecting the property he is interested in from the search results, he is provided with detailed information, such as ownership information, map view of the location, and a street view of the property and surrounding area. In another view, he can look at tax zone information. Once he decides that he is interested in the property and has negotiated the purchase with the current owner, Stephen Ellison, they can complete the transaction in the land registry. Once Stephen Ellison logs into the system and selects the property from the list of his properties, he can start the change ownership process. As they have agreed that the payment for the property is already deposited in an escrow account, he can complete all the steps from his side, and Michael will complete the transaction. He starts the process by selecting Michael Williams as the new owner. Next, he needs to pay the state tax for the transaction, after which he can sign the sales contract. We can see from the status of the transaction that to achieve the completion, Michael needs to sign the contract as well. When Michael logs into the system, he sees a notification of a new transaction. Once he opens the transaction, he can verify that the taxes have been paid and the contract is already signed by Stephen Ellison. After signing the contract, the transaction is completed and he is now the proud owner of the property. The land registry can also be used to manage tax payments for existing properties. We follow the steps of a multiple property owner, Adam Smith, to see the property tax management process. Upon entering the payments section of the registry, Adam can see the payments due and settle the payments directly in the system. He can also view the statistical and historical tax information for his properties. As we have gone through the many different interactions that a person can have with the state, let's look at what it looks like from the other side. Throughout the demonstration, there have been different fee and tax payments made in the system. All those payments accrue to the state budget management system. The budget management system is a small banking system hosted by the Budget Authority, where the government and public sector institutions act as customers. The system's main objective is to administer and supervise government and public sector spending. In the budget management system, a state official can see various information on the status of budget accrual for the state, such as the budgeted amount, payments received to date, and the comparison of budget accrual versus the plan. Diving deeper into the payments received, the official can see the payments for the border crossing, state fees for the court procedures, and land registry operations already visible in the system. Throughout the demonstration, we have also seen that information is actively exchanged between different systems and registries. For example, the information about persons, their family, medical data, property, and court case-related information. To facilitate the fast and secure exchange of data between systems, a dynamic interoperability platform is used. In Estonia, this system is called X-Road. The same system is available to all countries around the world as the Unified Exchange Platform. Let's look at the visualization of the data moving between the systems. After refreshing the data, we see the latest transactions. On the left, we can see that the information has been exchanged between different services, such as for persons, students, companies, and other services. The services are within different service providers, which in turn are under the jurisdiction of different ministries and organizations. For example, the Person Registry, Business Registry, and Citizen Portal are under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Home Affairs. The e-school system is under the Ministry of Education. Hospital information systems are managed by hospitals, and so on. Below, we can see a visualization of the different services and systems that are exchanging data, starting with the Citizen Portal receiving information about marriages, students, owners of properties, company ownership, schools, and persons. We can also see information from different connected systems. This presentation has been brought to you by the ICT Cluster in cooperation with the Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Welcome back. Now we will have a panel discussion where we will look how to build up safest and most attractive business environment. I understand you can ask that why governments should bother or be interested about the business environment. But let me bring you one example. For example, one Estonian company did a business registry in Oman. And thanks to that system, now the business can be registered in Oman within 2 minutes. They can do their licensing there within 2 minutes. And thanks to that solution, Now the Oman position in World Bank Ease of Doing Business ranking raised over 120 places. And what it means for the government, what it means for the country, it means more transactions, it means more foreign investments. It's easier to do business now in this country. And that's why it's useful for the government to have a comfortable e-services for the business sector. And in this panel, we will look now 3 concrete examples how to build up a user-friendly business environment. Via workshop, you can ask the questions, put all your questions there, and we will have, in the end of the presentations, also time for the discussions and ask for your questions. So I encourage you again to be very actively involved. And I'm happy to invite to the stage our first panelist in order to present his topic here. And it's Aare Lapuinen, who will speak about taxation. Please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I will talk about tax a little bit in Estonia. I was 10 years Deputy Director General in tax, National Estonian Tax Administration, and in 1994, when I went to my office from commercial bank, everybody was laughing on me. What are you doing? Why you are going to tax administration? Nobody pays taxes anyway. So there have nothing to do in tax administration. But we changed situation quite quickly, and technology was one of the important drivers which helped us to make from tax administration, whom nobody didn't care, to the administration which is probably one of the most important today in Estonia, at least from the public financing perspective. And even in the world, amongst OECD countries, Estonian tax administration is one of the most efficient, let's say, since 2010 at least. At some point of time, because we have implemented in Estonian tax administration some new IT tools, IT-related tools, we achieved in situation when general GDP growth was very, very slow, we achieved 9% increase in revenues just because we implemented a couple of features using IT technology. And in 90s, when before we started modernizing tax administration, 1994, when I came to the office, we received first computers in tax administration. But in 2000 already, we launched e-services for all taxpayers. So we moved very quickly, and very quickly we started feel results. And for example, one of the results is in the beginning of century, there was 3,500 employees in tax and customs administration, and we collected something around 1.6 billion euro. Today, in tax and customs of Estonia, only 1,300 employees, and we collect almost 8 billion euro per year. So we have 3 times less people, and we collect at least 3 times more money. And yeah, this is because we modernized organization. But we didn't done it overnight. There was many small steps. In 90s, we created initial infrastructure, IT infrastructure, wide area network, connected all offices into one network. Then we have created e-services for our taxpayers. Then we started with a thing what we call pre-filed declaration, which means that instead of submitting tax returns, our people just entering into portal and tax return is already ready for them. And we actually slowly but steadily moving to the situation when taxpayers even probably do not need to submit tax returns at all, because we can capture in real time this information from economical transactions. And that will mean that there is zero cost of collection of money, and of course there is zero compliance cost for the taxpayers, and everybody will be happy. And we already have done specific steps for a specific type of taxpayers toward what we call zero bureaucracy, or situation when taxpayers don't need to submit any tax return. Well, just few words what it is tax administration today. It's about collection of revenue, and mostly focus of tax administration is to ensure what we call tax compliance amongst taxpayers, and to reduce taxpayers' administrative compliance burden, because international practice is showing that taxpayers are more likely to comply if they will receive a nice service from tax administration, and if tax administration is responsive to taxpayers' needs, and if tax administration is cost efficient. So this is like important things. Decrease of compliance burden, responsiveness to taxpayers, and cost efficiency. This is our principles. And generally speaking, there are three main functions in a tax administration. It's actual collections of money, strategic planning and management, and of course administration and support. Well, this is the internal view to the tax administration, but we actually see tax administration a little bit different. First of all, tax administration is a part of general big context of public administrations within Estonia, and everything starts from digital identity. So all taxpayers have the digital identity, and with digital identity they can access digital services of state. And in back office, tax administration is interconnected with all needed, required for us administrations. Of course, customs, commercial banks, social insurance, everything what is needed. And only when you have that digital identity, electronic services for taxpayers, interconnectivity for tax-related processes, then you can start targeting zero bureaucracy. So this is a global context. So tax administration is not doing everything by themselves. We are part of a global digital state in Estonia. And we also looking to the taxpayers, that taxpayer is not something which is here to pay taxes. Actually, taxpayer is a businessman, and we are looking how to support, let's say, business activities of the taxpayers. And for example, we trying to consolidate reporting, like that. In 90s, taxpayers were obliged to submit tax returns to tax administration, to customs, to statistical office, to business registry. Now there is a single point of reporting, and as much as possible information we collect ourselves and providing already in a prepared tax return format to taxpayers. And like that, we are trying to achieve situations that there is one single digital portal for taxpayer, and behind this single portal there are digital identity, payment channels, access to regulator like tax administration or a company registration, etc. And even there are for small companies, there are even state-backed accounting services which facilitate business activities for taxpayers. So this is how we see the tax administration. So it should be an integrated part of business environment, of digital business environment, which is convenient for taxpayers as much as possible. And our main function to ensure compliance, we also implementing, let's say, wisely. This is like a building blocks, overall building blocks of building compliance. I mean, we are not trying to check everybody. On the contrary, we understand that majority of taxpayers would like to comply, and we are looking mainly for this small part of taxpayers who are, for some reasons trying to avoid compliance, and we are implementing inside our administration what we call risk management, which is through data analysis, through robust, comprehensive data analysis, allow us to select those taxpayers who are really not compliant, and like that we are able to target our efforts to really taxpayers which requires attention. And even more, we are actually publish to taxpayers results of our risk assessment, so everybody can see how we see taxpayers. And for example, this is a picture. So sometimes this is like diagram of how many taxpayers result what kind of tax gap. So there are probably many taxpayers which are resulting moderate in terms of money tax gap, and so for them we are applying moderate resources. And there are a small amount of taxpayers which are resulting immense tax gap, so we are focusing on this kind of taxpayers. This is what we call risk-based assessment, but this is based on totally modernized technological platform in the tax administration, and the cornerstone of this platform is data products. And for data products, we created a kind of environment for a business analyst where business analysts can find data, prepare data, and analyze data. And this is probably most important component in technological platform of tax administration. Bottom line of my small talk is that tax administration is important building block of state. If you really modernize this administration very carefully and wisely, then it will bring revenue to you. It also will support capabilities to modernize public administration in a more general sense. It will create a positive image of state. So businesses and citizens will look to administration and to state that this is not just some monstrum, but this is a careful service organization. And because in Estonia at least we have acquired IT modernization services from local market, and acquiring that we also supported local business community because we were buying IT development services. And that support industrialization of local economy. So modernization of tax administration is a very good thing, and it's brought a lot of benefits to Estonia and to everybody who wisely approach this topic. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Aare. And I'm already looking forward to the possibility to elaborate these topics further in the panel discussion. But now I'm very happy to invite to the stage our next speaker, Madis Sassiad, who will speak about the movement of people and goods, the cross-border service. Please, Madis.
Welcome to this demonstration of e-governance solutions based on experience from Estonia, a country widely recognized as one of the world's leading digital societies. This presentation is prepared for you by the members of Estonian ICT cluster in partnership with the Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In this presentation, we will be looking at activities involving crossing the border, enabling the smooth and efficient movement of people, goods and transportation across the national border. To get started, the citizen will use their unique digital ID number to log into the citizen portal, a central gateway to all public sector services. He or she enters their personal ID number and password, and once they press login using Smart ID, a verification code is sent to their mobile phone, and once they verify their identity with the PIN number, they are logged in. The same login procedure is used to access any public sector service in Estonia. As we can see now, Michael Collins is logged in and various information is already presented to him from different registries, such as the population registry and the marriage registry regarding his family. Looking at the business side, we can see that he is a shareholder in two companies, Happy Trees Limited and Global Timber Limited. As we are interested in border crossing activities, let's go straight to the border crossing. We're all familiar with how long and cumbersome a border crossing can be if we just drive to the border and stand in a queue. The similar process would not be imaginable for someone going to the airport to just board the flight, without any advanced information available to Border Patrol or customs officials. Michael needs to go across the border with one of the Happy Trees trucks, and rather than waiting in a queue at the border, he can register the border crossing in advance. To get the process started, he enters the border management system. Once in the border management system, Michael has to choose the border crossing point. After selecting the first option, a selection of queue options is presented. Priority queue is for perishable or dangerous goods. Live queue is for crossing the border without a preset time. And pre-reserve queue is where Michael can reserve a specific time for crossing the border. Once Michael has selected the pre-reserve queue, he enters his personal information as he will be driving the truck himself and the data about the truck. He enters his name, ID number, travel document number, vehicle registration number, and selects truck with goods as vehicle category. Once he confirms the data, he will need to pay for the reservation, so he selects Visa as payment type and completes the transaction. This is all Michael needs to do from his side to make the reservation. All information is automatically sent to the Border Patrol and customs officials. Let's now take a look at what the border crossing will look like from the perspective of the border official. Once we refresh the data, we can see a new reservation in the name of Michael Collins for crossing the border, with a truck containing goods. When looking at the different reservations, we see notifications next to some of the items in the reservations. The clipboard sign next to the vehicle information means that this vehicle has been automatically selected by the system for a thorough customs check. There are also different notifications next to the information about the people. A green notification means that the personal information has been verified with the population registry. A red one that this particular person has a criminal history. We can see how having this information in advance enables the border and customs officials to prepare and plan the flow of controls needed for the vehicles and drivers going across the border. As you recall, when Michael was making his reservation, he had to pay a fee. Let's take a look now where this payment went. To do this, we look at the state budget management system. The budget management system consolidates the public funds management across the entire public sector. Once we refresh the data for the received payments, we can see that a new payment has been made to the Ministry of Finance for the border and customs declaration. This exemplifies the value of the various systems being connected in an efficient and secure manner. An interoperability framework is needed to facilitate such a seamless flow of information. In Estonia, a system called X-Road is used. To see a visualization of the data flowing between the systems, we can look at the Unified Exchange Platform, which is available to all countries in the world. Once we refresh the data, we can see the updated transaction count. On the left, we see the different services that are exchanging data, such as companies, persons, students, prescriptions, and others. And on the right, different client systems, such as the citizen portal, company registry, and so on. And here we can see the queue management service as well. Below is the graphical representation of the data flowing. In the upper display, we see the information by client service, and the lower display showing us the client systems, followed by statistical information about the information being exchanged. As we can see from the demonstration, by implementing a border management system, customs and immigration officials are able to know in advance who is coming, when, with what kinds of goods, to which destination, and other kinds of crucial information to keep the border crossing legal, safe, efficient, and under control. They can also undertake a reorganization of the border post by imposing border crossing schedules on everyone: drivers, public agents, forwarding agents, etc. This presentation has been brought to you by the ICT cluster in cooperation with the Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The border crossing solution was developed by GoSwift.
Good day. I will talk a little bit more specifically what we can offer in order to maintain all of those trucks in those border checkpoints and keep those queues organized. So what we do is that we are moving this kind of physical queue to the virtual one. So all the vehicles need to register before crossing, which means that all of those border authorities will receive information about the vehicle, driver, and cargo before arrival. And according to this information, those authorities can make the risk analysis, but at the same time also configure the service according to the desired throughput. So basically, there can be many of those queues. Let's say they can also set those periods, how much of one will pass vehicles through, and there can be also defined some special queues like priorities and live queues. And what is very good to the authorities and all of those others who are doing the risk analysis, then they know exactly who is coming, who is arriving, and which vehicle is in this particular moment coming to this border checkpoint. And all the vehicles are coming in just in time. This is already seen in many of those places. So this is a picture what you might have seen if you have been crossing the border from Mauritania to Western Sahara. It is quite the same, I believe, without maybe the forest and trees, but the long queue, it still exists there as well. So this is what we had here in Estonia as well, just before the border queue service started. So the longest waiting times were like in 5 to 6 days. So those traffic or transportation companies had a lot of loss in profits. The drivers were very bad conditions. Of course, it was very much waste and pollution there, and not to mention about the road safety and security at all. And you know, illegal sale of places in queue. One place in the queue depends how close it was to the border checkpoint. It was like 400 euros. So it was very highly accepted to these kind of smugglings. And you can imagine few days even after we started our operations, the road was empty. So all of those times and arrivals were predictable, and they were reliable. So the pre-registration data gave to customs and other officials a lot of information regarding to make the risk analysis. Of course, cargo security was improved, and rest time management was much better. Of course, the road safety was better, and pollution were quite better as well. And of course, the black market disappeared as one place was already trusted, and no one wanted to pay for that one anymore. So what we do, the basic idea is to increase the security at the same time to facilitate the movement. So the border queue management solution is for border police, customs, transport agencies, local authorities, and tourists. So it increases security and facilitates the movement. So it includes the driver passport and visa information, movement reference number, which is the customs-based information coming from the declarations, registration data and metadata, for example, IP addresses from which the registration is made. There is also the vehicle data, license plate data. Safety and security has a kind of example to say how we facilitate the movement, the lower cost of cross-border trade, of course, and easy intra-regional movement and more tourism. So basically, there is many of those modules, let's say. There is 4-tier model in usage. It consists of pre-departure, which means that pre-registration, just-in-time planner, pre-checks, identification and waiting area management, check assistant, it is for the border guard, customer and customs officer client, post-checks, which is consisting of the monitoring and reporting. So it is all kind of combined to this kind of a GoSwift product, which is including mainly the kind of a GoSwift core component, GoSwift Park, GoSwift Operations, GoSwift Data, and this kind of omni-channel platform. So everything is included. And in the case there is some sort of a need to leave something out or add something in, everything is there. So what it made to this trade corridor? Of course, it made much more improvement in this time savings, and based on this, it made it possible to save annually around 4 million euros for each of those let's say, all together for Estonian international carriers. And average border waiting time dropped from 60 hours to 1.5, even less in real. And uncertainty and delays was also already gone, so everything was in real time, and estimation was available 24/7. Volumes were increased, exports from Estonia to Russia, for example. Estonia ports as a gateway to Russia is now heavily used. For example, all of those new vehicles, new passenger cars are exported through and transited to the Russia through Estonia. And of course, the intra-regional tourism, as those people can plan their travel. And impact by stakeholders, it is drivers who will have more safety, security, and convenience, carriers, profitability and reliability. Traders will have more competitiveness, and the border police and customs definitely predictability, better planning of needed resources, better working conditions, from push to pull of vehicles driving to the border checkpoint. This is the main achievement, I mean. that they can already plan those arrivals, not to just wait until the next vehicle is coming. And there is also better safety and security. There's a lot of preliminary information is available and then makes it possible to make these kind of a risk analysis. Local population is get this kind of a facilitation of movement, and Ministry of Transport and Economy will have more competitiveness, attractiveness, and road management. So this is me. We keep just-in-time access to transport gateways. We keep it secure and moving. So there is also my contacts if there is any interested, or if there is any question, you can always approach to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Madis. And now we have a time for our last panelist, and he will speak about mobile ID and digital trade hub. And actually, I'm very happy that now we're bringing here also another country experience. He will speak this experience in point of view Azerbaijan. Daniil, please.
Hello, my name is Daniil Gusev. I am Chief Sales Officer at Best Solutions. We're an Estonian company who delivers secure and trusted e-government solutions in emerging states around the world. And for the past 10 years, we were determined by a mission to demonstrate the transferability of Estonian digital success story by supporting digital transformation of Azerbaijan. And today I would like to share some insights that we got from our experience. Our company was the first who exported X-Road solution outside Estonia and European Union into the Republic of Azerbaijan. And the next step after implementing X-Road was to develop a secure and easy to use authentication and digital signature solution. We analyzed the market and saw that more and more people were going mobile. So we decided to skip ID card solution that was very successful and popular in Estonia and move straight to a mobile ID solution. Our mobile ID solution is based on SIM card technology. What it means that our solution can work on all devices, or on all mobile devices, starting from all the new feature phones like Nokia, Siemens, Motorola, and finishing with the latest smartphones. The handset itself doesn't require any internet connection. So it works from secure channel SMSC. Our mobile ID also doesn't require any extra devices like card readers or any extra installation software, plugins, drivers or interoperability software. So from 2015, we helped to develop and implement a mobile ID solution, which is called Asan-Imza, which provides authentication and secure authentication access to all digital services in Azerbaijan. It is issued by a state and provides authentication digital signing solution. And our company strongly believes that mobile ID is a future. And right now we are investing in developing in a new type of mobile ID solution, which will be based on eSIM and which will use quantum cryptography. So how does mobile ID works? So the first user chooses a service that he would like to access. For authentication, he uses his mobile phone number, personal ID code, and after that, he will receive a verification code on his device, which he has to verify with a verification code that was issued by a service provider. If the codes are the same, then he has to identify himself by using mobile ID pin code 1. And in a seconds, the generated certificate is sent by to mobile operator and then forwarded to certification authority that identifies the person, checks the certificates, and all information that is given by a user. And if everything is okay, then grants the access to e-service. To make all this possible, the mobile ID ecosystem consists of first, registration authority that issues the mobile ID. Second is mobile ID operator that connects all mobile operators on the market with service providers and certification authority in one ecosystem. The third is certification authority that issues the certificate and checks the certification legal issues. And last but not least, the service providers, starting from governmental institutes and banks who creates and issues e-services to citizens and businesses. So right now you see the results of implementing mobile ID in Azerbaijan. Shortly, I would like to say that we have connected and created more than 1,000 e-services with mobile ID. The three most popular services are tax and custom declarations, and the new service that was launched approximately 2-3 years ago is labor contracts, which is done now digitally. If in past for labor contract it took up to 2 business days, and when tax authority came to check if all workers had a legal contract, then company owner could say that all these documents were digitally physically filled in and sent by post, that it will take 2 days. Right now, the labor contract can be registered in 5-10 minutes. And thanks to this technology, the growth of legal labor contracts in Azerbaijan grew than more than 200%. To ensure digital exclusivity, SunMZA supported several verbal solutions in the region. These services are very popular, especially in rural areas where computer literacy is very low and penetration of internet is poor. Now, citizens can use digital services by phone. Calling a help desk. For example, again, the most popular service was tax declaration, when a taxpayer can call a help desk, identify themselves with mobile ID, and the operator will fill in all the tax declaration for the customer, send the total information to his device by SMS or pop-up message, and the taxpayer just needs to digitally sign this contract with his mobile ID PIN code too. Right now, we're developing the similar solutions to other governmental institutes with their services, and very popular right now and big demand from banks. SunMZA played a fundamental role in developing of digital trade hub of Azerbaijan, an e-trade and e-commerce platform that simplifies import and export procedures. So all the companies local Azerbaijan companies which are registered in the digital trade hub are checked by Azerbaijani government for their legitimacy and if their product exists. So anyone in the world who would like to start doing business in Azerbaijan, selling or buying goods, can register on this portal, can pay taxes, can pay shipment, pay for goods and custom declaration, everything digitally. Also, SunMZA enabled the launch of M-Residency program in Azerbaijan. I think that you have heard of a very successful project in Estonia called e-Residency, where Estonian government issues ID cards to entrepreneurs around the world with e-Residency who would like to start business in Estonia and in Europe. remotely. So the same project was, with our Estonian experience, we launched the same project in Azerbaijan, calling M-Residency. The difference between these two projects that we are issuing mobile ID in embassies of Azerbaijan. And everybody who would like to open a business and company in Estonia can do it in 5-10 minutes using M-Residency portal, Digital Trade Hub portal, and manage their company, manage their internet bank and own payments digitally, never visiting Azerbaijan physically. And in conclusion, I would like to say that mobile ID works in digital world like a physical identification method in the real world, like passport or ID card. It can provide access to all kinds of e-services that are provided by the government or by businesses. You can confirm payments and make a signature of digital documents. Mobile phones at almost everybody's pocket, mobile ID is the most accessible and affordable solution as a foundation to a digital development. And most importantly, mobile ID is very secure as it functions on proven technology, which issues the highest level of assurance. As you know, in Estonia, mobile ID is used for governmental voting and for European votings too. And that's it from my side, and I will be glad to answer any questions in the panel. Here's my contact, so you can contact me by email if you would like to see a more detailed presentation of our services. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for these very interesting presentations, and I'm very happy that now we have a time a little bit to elaborate more these topics what you raised and speak about how really these e-services are affecting the efficiency, let's say, of the e-governance and what kind of benefits there are. And we have now a chance also to answer to all your questions. So I encourage you still to put your questions into the workshop question answer button, because I will look there and ask the question from the panelists. So don't make their life too easy. But my first question, we have here said very many times that benefits, that there should be benefits why we're using e-services. So let's start. The question to you all is that where the return of investment is. Is it in some kind of, I don't know, time, money, something else? Is it possible to bring concrete examples regarding your services that where the return of investment is for the government, for the businesses? Ara, let's start with you.
Oh, well, I think tax administration is probably the simplest case because I mean, in Estonian case, in last 21 years, let's say, we have cut our resources 3 times and collecting 3 times more money. And this is on a back office side, and on people side, they don't need to stay in queues, they don't need to come to the office. It's everything done easily, nicely in internet. I mean, it's like a best example ever. I mean, just automate tax administration and money will start inflow.
And I think we have to be clear here that it doesn't mean that Estonians are so eager to pay taxes, or it's just a thing that as it have been made so easy, then it's okay.
Well, we have in back office anyway what we call risk management. So we are actually catching those people who don't really willing to comply. So this is what this rest of 1,300 people are doing.
But this is the thing what you're getting. 3 times more money and 3 times less resources.
Less resources, yeah.
Very concrete return of investment. Thank you. Madis, the same question to you.
Yeah, well, if I can bring one very easy example, that waiting time was decreased for those trucks who were going to the Russia, for example, from Estonia. The decrease was 60 times in time. So I guess this is quite a good result in fact. At the same time, it also gave them chance to operate in some other journeys and make it more profitable for them. And at the same time, to the officials, it made also possibility to make sort of a risk analysis based on those registered data, what we are collecting with system, any kind of information regarding the drivers, the vehicle, the cargo, and put it together in such kind of analytical tool, which made possible also to check how much and which kind of registrations are made in the same computer or same IP address, let's say. And so it makes it possible to check if there is sort of a group of people who are trying to, do something wrong or bad. And at the same time, it also made it possible to plan those shifts for the border guards or customs, as we know exactly how much of those vehicles are arriving at what time. And at the same time, it also made it possible to make this kind of different system. Instead of letting as much as those vehicles are coming, just they are pushing all the time to come more and more. Now you can pull those vehicles and call them in. So it makes much more easier to manage all the operations and procedures.
So it means the right on time service, what I think in the same time is also like good for the environment. It's a greener thinking, more sustainable thinking when you think about pollution and all these kind of things also coming together with that.
Absolutely. There is no pollution, not so much of pollution anymore, as those trucks don't stay idle in somewhere. They are always moving and making some sort of efficient turnover to their owners. At the same time, it also collects more taxes because you know exactly who is coming and how much of the cargo it will bring in. So basically win-win situation for everyone.
Very clear. So Daniil, the same question to you.
Yeah, so the same example as I told already, newest our solution like labor contracts. In Azerbaijan, there were two possibilities to make these contracts physically. When you are going by car to the tax authority, spend 1 or 2 hours in jams, pollution, spending gasoline, nerves again. And the second one, when you filled everything and sent by post, it took up to 2 days. Right now, with digitalization, it takes 5 to 10 minutes. So you save time and money. And for companies, for example, in Digital Trade Hub, as I mentioned, that if in past the registration company was pretty expensive, you had to collect a lot of documents, then turn to some specialists who can help to fill in all those government documents which you maybe are not familiar with. So right now it is possible to do in electronical way, 10-15 minutes. And if you have any trouble, then you can help desk who will easily help you. So you save time and money.
Okay, and in the same time, the thing is also that mobile ID is like an enabler for the other services, also for the tax paying. I'm the everyday user for that.
Almost all services I mentioned, 1,000 of them are using mobile ID, and mobile ID eases the access and availability of the services. Same in Estonia and in Azerbaijan, it's same.
Yeah. Are, I have a very good question here for you. As I promised that, or asked from the participants that don't make your life too easy. It's that the taxation is something which is, let's say, the legislative part and also the taxation rules or what kind of taxes are collected. And these kind of things are, let's say, different in every country and differently regulated in every country. So is it possible that to take the Estonian experience or Estonian tax authority solution and to implement in other countries?
Well, absolutely. I mean, after I left the tax administration, I worked for 15 years as a consultant with IMF and with World Bank. And I would say that there are details are different, but in general, there are let's say, VAT or sales taxes, and there are corporate personal income tax probably. Anyhow, wages are under tax and properties. So it's quite the same. The tax base is the same, and with details in tax policy are really not influencing the administration principles. And administration principles is that you are looking to risks based on data analysis, and you create a convenient environment for your businesses. These two principles are absolutely universal and does not really depend on the specifics of tax policy. So in that sense, you can take Estonian example and just implement. As I said, I was several times mentioning to you that in 1994, so let's say less than 30 years ago, we received first computers, and now we are one of the best tax administrations in the world. So you can not only take this example and implement it into your country, you can do it quite quickly.
Very nice. Oh, now we have in workshop a question for you, Madis, I think. Does the border solution require also the cooperation between two countries that the users can benefit from that?
Well, it definitely is better if there is both countries somehow involved. But in real, we use the kind of system in a way that it works first in one country, and it doesn't depend if another country will start the operations or not. As it is still kind of a sensitive data, and all the data which is collected is belonging to the government. So government from this one country is deciding what he or they want to do with this data. But we have one experience where we started the operations from both sides. Of course, those data sets were totally different, and they didn't were shared anyhow with another country. Of course, it is technically easy, but first you need to make this kind of a governmental level of agreement to share the data. Then you can share it. In this particular case, it was made in a way that the governments were making this kind of agreement, and we were able to make this kind of return booking. It means that, like, you book the flights for yourself, then it means that you can make the one journey only, or you can make the return flight as well. So it was quite the same, that first you make this kind of, let's say, export, and then you know exactly that your truck needs to come back as well. So it means that you can make this kind of another booking as well at the same time. And so you make this kind of turnaround for one vehicle. It was really, really good, and everyone were very happy for that.
Actually, that's a very cool thinking, that when we think about Mauritania, as we doing the workshop for you now, it can be that if you have only one-way ticket, then let's say the Mauritania is the one that the user experience can be that you're crossing the border and you're very happy that, oh, it was so smooth. But to come back to the country, it depends from the other part, that is it also so smooth to come back, or is it a totally different experience? There the collaboration is coming.
That's how we have made all those operations at this moment, that many of those countries are using it only in one side or more border crossings And so the other side is still there is a long queue, and those vehicle and drivers are very pissed off in very short terms.
Daniil, in Azerbaijan experience, is it possible to say that what is the favorite service in Digital Trade Hub for the private sector point of view, and what is from the public sector point of view, the favorite ones?
Yes, from public sector, as I mentioned, that the registrating your company and finding partners, for example, in Azerbaijan or outside Azerbaijan for collaboration is much easier. You don't have to travel. You can do everything digitally. For government perspective, the income. In first year of working of digital trade hub, the income was more than $70 million. So extra money.
Okay, thank you. The last question to you all, actually. What could be the next, this kind of, let's say, killer application in your working area? The next innovation in your working area, what could it be? Or what could be the most beneficial? Who wants to start? Madis, please.
I can start. Our passion is to make those border crossings as automated as possible. So it means that we will try and make it possible in next few years, I believe, that we will remove almost all the people from the border checkpoint. That because those passports are possible to check with automated passport checking, like it is in the airports. You have seen maybe, and there is another kind of a technological innovation that we are developing at this moment that is considering to make the customs life much easier, that we will start scanning all of those vehicles and cargo with cosmic rays, which doesn't hurt people. So it is now they use the X-rays, which is quite radioactive, but the cosmic rays is surrounding us everywhere. So this is what we do, and then it is automated.
Okay, that's totally new dimension, let's say, and very innovative. Thank you. So?
Well, in my area, I see that digital currency accessible to everybody will enable to make all public sector transactions based on a public digital platform without usage of commercial banks. So like that, with approximately 10 billions what we have now, which we keep passing through commercial banks, we will keep on a public platform, and Treasury will do investments and with this money, and at the same time microtransactions cost will go to zero. I'm not talking only about zero bureaucracy, but I'm talking about huge opportunities for automation in let's say real time for small and micro transactions like ticketing and so on. So digital currency.
Okay, very good.
State central bank digital currency. I'm not talking about speculations like Bitcoin. I'm talking about fiat digital currency.
Okay, I have a feeling that this is totally, let's say, new topic with what we could also speak like longer and have a next presentation about that. Very intriguing. Daniil?
I must say that from our company, we are looking forward for cross-border services. Let's say maybe our guests know that there is cross-border, first in the world cross-border service right now creating with Finland and Estonia, thanks to X-Road implementation. And there is enough, what it gives to citizens, that Finnish citizen, Estonian citizen can exchange and use e-services from different countries. For example, there is enough countries in the world that uses X-Road. We can try to implement the cross-border services with these countries to make all this transformation of information digitally. In the same context, we can use Digital Trade Hub, create, for example, as I usually naming digital rehab friendly as eBay for companies and government to exchange goods in the future seamlessly and digitally.
And in the real time, as Aare mentioned.
Yes, in real time.
Thank you so much, Daniil, Madis, Aare, for this very interesting discussion. And hopefully for all of you were also this very interesting and also practical. We are starting to reach to the end of our workshop. But before that, before the final conclusions and the feedback session as we did it yesterday, we will have a short 10 minutes coffee break. So you have a moment to collect your thoughts and ideas about today's intensive discussions, and then we will have a feedback session. I hope you will be there involving very actively, and already then the final words. Thank you, and see you shortly. And welcome back. So now we will reach to the discussion point where what I can say that it's most interesting part, at least for me. Because we are asking now feedback from you, and I hope that you will be very actively involved in this part. And with that, we can actually more to understand and see how useful this e-governance workshop have been for you, and what could be the next steps, or to set up the thoughts that what Mauritania could do in order to build up the digital society. So as I said, we're using the workshop environment. I'm in the environment myself right now. You see the same picture as I am seeing now. And in the last session, feedback session, you will find the button called Tasks. Let's open that button. And as yesterday it was, there is a question. And the first question is that what could be the most important public service in order to boost the wider digital transformation? So what do you think? What could be the first service or the killer application, so-called, that what should be done firstly? And I put here some examples what we discussed also today. For example, the use of mobile ID or e-school or the school management system or the secure cross-border services, for example, the border crossing as we spoke, or e-health, or maybe e-justice system, or tax collection, or transactions in the business registry. So what could be this kind of killer application, or first thing first, where to start? I will put the tax collection system, let's say, because I like the very clear benefits, what's coming from there, and the connection, what the public sector will get from that area. And that, what means that if the public sector, in my thoughts at least, it means that when the public sector gets more money, they have more possibilities to implement other e-services. But of course, in the same time, it can be that the most important thing is e-health, because the people health is something with what we can't play. It has to be always. It's the most important, especially when we speak about this pandemic situation. So let's see. I hope you all have already had chance to answer, and let's see what the answers are. What we see right now here, who is leading? Aare could be proud now that the tax collection is the most important or most popular in your thoughts, as I see right now. Then we see that of security services on borders, that the border crossing part, about what we were speaking, and transaction in the business registry, that to make all transactions for the companies in the business easier as possible. So they coming with your business in Mauritania, yes. And the school management system, okay, that's not voted, but the use of mobile ID, yes, very understandable, because mobile ID is something which is very easily usable with a SIM-based, and it's enabler for all other services. So thank you so much for your answers, and we can see that the difference of opinion is always allowed, and it's a very good discussion point when you're thinking now more concretely about Mauritania, that what could be the next steps. for that. So I think let's go on with our next question. And again, when you're looking here in the workshop, the next question are, what benefits are you seeking from e-governance solutions? That's a very short question, as you see, and also the answers are just three possibilities to choose. That what is the main benefit, what you're seeking to get out from the e-governance solutions? Is it a more transparent governance, increased speed of processes, or lower cost for administration? So what do you think, what could be the most important, to lower the cost, increase the speed, or get the more transparent governance? I, myself, will choose the more transparent governance, actually, because, of course, the speed to get the easier the solutions is important and very good, and the lower costs are also always something which is very good. But in order to build up the trust, at least in my thinking, towards the government and build up all these services, then the transparency is a very important part. And we now see already the answers. Aha, the speed is the main thing, as I see here. In your thoughts, the speed up the processes, then the transparent governance, and lower cost for administration is coming. Actually, that's very okay also to think in this way, because if we speed up the processes, then also the transparency hopefully will increase, and of course the lower the cost is some kind of very clear benefit with what we can always build up the next services. So, and actually the more transparent governance and increased speed of processes is right now totally equal, as I say, which is also very, very good. With that point, that these two things are totally equal right now, I would be very happy to end up this feedback session, because it looks very nice in this way. And as we have reached to the end of our seminar, I would like to now conclude our 2 days workshop. Just to think through what we have got from here. So I myself would hope very much that this workshop was useful for you, that you got new inspiration, new ideas, and that it encouraged you to go on in this digitalization path. Of course, you have to remind that the digitalization isn't ever the sprint, it's always the marathon. You have to have a longer run, you have to have a strategy how you reach there. And for that, the good partnerships, the good ideas from the partners is always needed, or it's very helpful. I would like to end up with the words of George Westerman from MIT, which I think very nicely making the conclusion how to think about the digitalization. When digital transformation is done correctly, it's like a caterpillar turning out into a beautiful butterfly. But when the digital transformation is done wrong, then you get just a little bit faster caterpillar. So I think you should always think that, do you want to get a beautiful butterfly to come out, or just a little bit faster caterpillar? And for that, I think all this collection of experiences, building up the public-private partnership, collaboration with the private sector, hearing what the other countries, for example, as we are here, have done, learning from their experiences, and setting up the strategy, digital strategy in long term, what is suitable for you, is always for help in order to have from the digital transformation this kind of caterpillar turn into the butterfly, as I said. Estonian ICT Cluster main aim is to help other countries and organizations achieve world-class digital societies. And hopefully we today encourage you to be a world-class digital society, do the next steps towards that. I myself would like to thank you for being these 2 days with us. I can say that through the email, we will send you all the presentations, and also we will send you there the feedback link. And I very much hope that you will give the short feedback also to us from there. It's valuable when we're planning the next activities, or it's very valuable when maybe you need help for setting up your next steps. I also would like to thank UFM and GIZ, with whom we have done all this e-governance workshops journey. It has been very fruitful and good collaboration with you. So I encourage you all to go on with this digital transformation path. It's just a start, and hopefully you had a very interesting time with us. Thank you.